Okay, so hello, Lisa Carnes here with KCOS digitalmedia.com and Dragonflight Enterprises. Today is an extremely special day. I am in studio with the infamous Chet Bennett, producer, recording master of all, and I was asked to do this project, and I'm feeling extremely humble and extremely lucky. So
Hi.
Hi. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, thank you.
I hear you don't do very many interviews, so this is like a lucky day.
Let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun.
First of all, wait a minute, stop. I'm going to flash you.
He flashed me some voodoo hawks. I see some voodoo hawk boobies here. I can't do the same, but on those lines, how did you get started in the recording industry?
Well, in about 1955, my dad brought a tape recorder home. Keep in mind, in that time, like 55, tape machines only been around 10 years. So I was banging on a guitar, and I was amazed how sound could go on this little ribbon. I mean, it just fascinated me. I mean, kids today have so much media stuff, but
right.
When you're sitting on a snowy night and you got this little machine. So anyhow, a short time later, he brought home a disc cutting machine, and the disc cutter was in a little suitcase, and it was on a cardboard with wax on it, and that's probably where the term wax in the recording industry. And so I was again just blown away by all this. So I had to find out more, and one thing just kept going and snowballing. Then by early 60s, when I was in high school, I went to a little recording studio in Tampa, Florida. We'd moved from up here down to Florida, and I was blown away by a microphone and a bigger tape machine,
right.
You know, really professional. And by today's standards, it's terrible. But at that time in my life, it was everything. And shortly thereafter, I was in my own band that I had formed. And from high school, we went up the coast to play in different clubs. And I got kicked out of my own band in Macon, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And where we were staying on Mulberry Street was the old Georgian Hotel. This was late 63, and in the ballroom, this old hotel was a recording studio, and they were doing all black music, which I was really interested in because of the soul feel.
Right.
And I had no place to go, no car, no nothing, and while I was in Macon, I was staying at, like I said, the hotel, which had the ballroom and studio. I was going in there every day to hang out. And next thing you know, I'm moving microphones around, and I'm kind of learning, taking the garbage out, just stuff like that, anything to hang on. And Bobby Smith, a real nice guy, would throw me a couple of dollars. I mean, a couple of dollars. And I'd go down the end of the street, and you could get 10 burgers for $1, plus 2 cents tax. So I lived on that and what food was left over from the session. Pizza, chicken wings. I mean, I actually went in the garbage. And the next problem I had to overcome was, where am I going to take a shower and clean up? Well, Bobby Smith went to the housekeeping, and he works the deal out, and the phone rang the next day in the studio, and they said, y'all send Mr. Bennett up to room 202. And I'm going, what's going on? You got to hurry up, get in there, and get out before we make the beds. Took a shower and cleaned up there.
I bet you were loving that.
It's part of what it takes.
Excuse me.
Yeah. And so from there, I just kept rolling, progressing. Then the military came, and I was out of action, and went into a situation where I wanted to be in combat. And I sent all my money home, every penny, went home.
That's wonderful.
And when I got home, if I survived, that was the big thing. I had money to hit the ground running for my dream. What was my dream?
Music.
Yes, sir. I mean, yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am. And I bought my first tape machine in Nashville, set up a studio. I married a nice Sicilian woman.
Good stuff.
And she was interested in what I was doing. She helped out. And the next thing you know, I'm in business, and I started making records. And, you know, and
That's
then at the
amazing.
same time, I was involved in Muscle Shoals. I went up there when the band left Rick Hall and started their own studio called Muscle Shoals Sound. I learned there how to really make records. I was a fly on the wall, and I developed my skills by flying back and forth to Clearwater, Florida to be exact, and I just kept getting better and better at it. And next thing you know, things were happening with CBS Columbia Records. They made an offer I couldn't refuse.
That's
You've heard that
outstanding.
line before.
Yeah, that's so outstanding.
Yeah,
That's just,
and my career was solid at that point. And it was all because of the 3M that I had mentioned earlier, Macon, Muscle Shoals, and Memphis. By the way, they're all on rivers, singing rivers. You know, that's what they
interesting.
say. Yeah.
That's interesting. So, you know, what I gather from that is your father was a big influence. He brought you home things that you needed that sparked that.
Right, you know, he was a trumpet player,
That's so
and I
wonderful.
learned to chop chords. You know, chopping chords was this,
Right.
for big band stuff. You know, Glenn Miller stuff.
Mhm.
And my mom played a cello. And of course, I'm a cello freak. I really love cellos. All my string arrangements will have this.
That's wonderful.
in there.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. They
So-
they supported me.
Well, you know, and once you get the bug, and if you're truly have that bug, you'll do whatever it takes to keep going. And I gather that from the story too, is that whatever it takes, you're going to get it done.
Oh, Lisa, at this time in my life, I find I don't hide anything anymore, like the secret of making a
Sure.
record. You know, it's time to teach.
Eloquent. That's wonderful. There's not too many people out there that have that way of thinking anymore, and I just think it's good. I think it's really good, wholesome way of thinking of it. It is. It's a sharing thing.
At my-
Music should be shared.
Birmingham studio, which I built in 2004, we had a few students from the university who were taking recording there.
Mhm.
They told me they learned more in 1 week than they did a whole semester.
That speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You know.
because a lot of universities and places that say, you know, we can even get you a job in the industry. Well, there's every damn college. It has a recording studio with teachers who never made records.
Right.
You know, most of them today
Agreed.
are computer operators. I'm old school. You look around
I
here,
see
everything
this.
is tape.
Yes.
Tape transformers, you know,
Analog.
it makes that sound.
It does.
And people are rediscovering that. Right now, vinyl is selling more.
I know.
Yep, did you see that?
Isn't that
The
amazing?
CDs.
It's saturating again. It really is. I heard some young people saying the other day, "Have you ever heard of vinyl?" I was like, "Yes." This is the best way to
Just
go.
take those old records off the shelf.
Yep. Okay. Did you go to school to learn recording?
Yeah, I went to the school of paying attention and learning everything I could learn, see, and hear. No school. School of hard knocks.
Right. Which, I mean, you try harder, it's a survival rate at that point.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, survival rate. It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it is. I've had to kind of
because that's just what I
myself.
wanted to do.
Yeah.
Nothing else. You know, the mafia wasn't hiring machine gunners, so I guess I'll become a recording engineer.
That's fun. That's fun. Okay, so let's say, what are some of the artists and labels you've worked with?
I've worked with probably all the labels, and some you've never heard of. You know, down the swamps of Louisiana, Mississippi. There's a lot of little labels down there. Great music. Some of the greatest music, unfortunately, will never be heard.
With the Swampers, actually.
Yeah, well, the swamp is in Muscle Shoals.
Muscle Shoals,
yeah.
yes.
Most of my bigger things came from CBS, Columbia, Epic, Portrait Records, and all the people that are involved that made, you know, the hits there. I had, you know, something to do with it at some point, and that's, you know, pretty much it. You know, I figured it out around 4,000 records, maybe even more.
Wow.
To give you an idea, at CBS, Columbia, Epic, there was days when I was mastering 3 or 4 albums a day.
Oh my gosh.
You know, one, give you an idea, I remember this so well. I did a Chicago in the morning, took a break, kind of went to lunch, come back, and the next mastering job was Prince. I had done 1999 album, so I knew the name. Purple Rain, and I put it on, and I said, what the hell is this? All this echo and stuff, going from Chicago, you know, organized horn riffs and patterns to a lot of echo. You know, I had to readjust. In fact, I took another break, came back in and said, okay, I got my head straight. I know what I need to do. And I made a few reference cuts, bam, dropped the cut ahead, master out the door, pressing.
That's impressive. That's impressive because I know mastering is very detail oriented and it's monotonous to a degree.
You gotta get your head right for the sound you're trying to get. Over there is my mastering system, and I can do a lot of things, but I don't like to do a lot. Now, with that said, we can take Blood Red Moon album. Ricky and I kind of talked about how we wanted to do this. As I'd mentioned earlier, we have a southern feel, that's us, and we like to put that in our music, not necessarily blasting forward all the time, but somehow incorporate it in.
Enhance it.
Yep, for that feel. And I chose not to do a lot of slick stuff to this album. I wanted to keep it pure. By being pure, the band would sound like the band when they played live.
Right.
And not like
That's
the Beach Boys that couldn't sing or play.
Right.
You know, they got better vocally, but the Wrecking Crew did all the music. You know, it wasn't them.
There's quite a few bands, actually. People don't realize that. Playing live and being recorded are two different, altogether things.
Yes.
When you're being recorded, you can sound like, you know, the very best, but when you're live, it tells no lies.
Yep, that's it. It's like a black headshot that you're going to hand to a movie producer. You don't hand them color, you hold them. They want to see black and white.
They do.
Yeah.
See your flaws. So, let's see. Is there any one artist or session that stands out for you over the years?
Well, most of them, I don't normally like to air dirty laundry. But James Brown and I didn't get along. He tried to, let's put it this way, James was famous for not wanting to pay his bills.
Oh.
And there's other great people in the industry. Willie Nelson, of course, is wonderful. Bob Seger is wonderful. There's a few others, and there's a few others.
Right.
You know, that have attitudes. But I found most of the time, the bigger the star, the better person. It's the people trying to come up or will stab you in the
Getting full
back.
of themselves, trying to just play the game, really.
Yeah.
Running the
Yeah.
race.
They're
playing
not
the game.
real.
Yeah.
You know, there's, Lisa, there's two things. There's the music business. Then there's the business of music. I was having trouble making money in 1970. I was going back and forth from Muscle Shoals, and the stuff I was cutting, I was going up to New York to try selling at Scepter Records. I don't know if you remember Scepter.
I do.
The Shirelles, Dionne Warwick, Burt Bacharach. Raindrops keep falling on my
I
head.
used to love that
You know,
song.
And I got talking to my Jewish uncle, Stan Greenberg, and he says, "Listen to me." I said, "Yeah, Stan." He says, "You're in the music business, right?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "That's your problem." I said, "Well, wait a minute. You need to be in the business of music." I sat there for about 20, 30 seconds. I went, duh.
I'll be remembering that too.
I had become a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
It all changed. I was giving away studio time, you know, stuff like that. Hey, how's it going? No. I had $100,000 worth of equipment I had to be paying for.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, you can't be everybody's friend.
But I learned my lesson. And I would recommend being in the business of music. First of all, anybody that has money out there, meaning you got a record deal, everybody is grabbing your money with the hands on it.
Right.
You're going, well, that's my money. Yeah, yeah, but this, that, and the other. No, you got to control that. And that's the business of music and not the music business. Look how so many bands have been in the music business end up with this.
Right, and they lose it all. They come out with, they have like big huge hits and they have no money.
Yeah. You wonder, what did they do with it?
Right. Or who did with it, you know?
Yeah.
Who did they trust? What was going on there? So, what's the difference between when you got started and today's music scene?
In a way, it's all the same, and in a way, it's not. I think it was less people involved in your money back in the older days. Then suddenly, lawyers handle it all. They got in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where's the money going there?
Right.
You know, and you get false statements. Old trick. You got a record, it's everywhere being played. This is records, not CDs, old school.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the reports in Cashbox Billboard, you're going, well, you check with your attorney, yeah, you only sold 5,000. And we had to give away 1,500 to disc jockeys, so we deduct that. And the deductions just keep going.
Sure.
You know?
And they're making theirs.
Yeah, and then the other ploy is they use a different pressing plant. Okay, so the receipt that you got from so-and-so pressing plant in New Jersey, a lot of them used to be in New Jersey area, and they get a receipt of 5,000 records were pressed. Well, they already deducted disc jockeys, blah, 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 blah. But he actually sold a lot more. What they did, they went to another pressing plant that somebody else in the system owns, and they press them there and sell them all over, and you never see those sales.
So is it that they press them there because it's it's cheaper? Is that what they're doing?
No. What it is, they don't want you to see the second 5,000.
And that's just horrible.
It is. But that's welcome to the music business.
Right.
But not the business of music.
Right. You know, there's a big lesson to be had right there. the business of music. You
Yeah.
know?
In fact, there's a book out by that name. It's been out about 20 years. But I learned it in 1970, like I said, from Stanley. Yeah.
I think I'm kind of just learning it myself now at this point in my life. That's very interesting. I will remember that.
You know, but that's the good thing about the industry.
It's pretty crazy.
It is. You know, it's scary. You're a babe in the woods to go out there. It's like me going on an ambush in Vietnam without a weapon.
Mm-mm.
You know, you're going out there to be slaughtered.
Right.
And the thing is, they're making money off of you. Whether it's nickels or dimes
So
or nothing.
tragic.
Jerry Wexler of Atlantic Records
Right.
in Muscle Shoals told me in 1970-ish, I said, Mr. Wexler, how did Atco and Atlantic Records start? He said, we would record black people that we think we could sell in Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
So they would record and press up 200 or 300 records over in New Jersey and get them back. And I said, who distributed them for you? He said, we did, out of the trunk of my car. And we went to the record store directly because you're better off to have 200 records and get paid for it than
Right.
have 10,000 and get ripped off by a distributor.
Right, and that's all it seems to be anymore. It's just so divided out.
Everybody's got a hand on your money, and you're the low person on the totem pole.
Exactly.
How do you fix that? The answer is nobody knows.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty tragic things happen to people. Oh, you know, I'm getting signed, I'm this, I'm that. And, you know, they have to sign away the rights to their own music and things like that. And it's like...
You know, where the money is really made, it's in publishing. Publishing. You
Okay.
own the rights to it. Then you can get paid because it shifts now over to BMI or ASCAP.
ASCAP, exactly. It sure does.
And that's where you writers need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that comes the producer,
Mm-hmm.
out of those royalties, and that's only 4%,
Right.
sometimes 3%. And then the engineer on that gets 1%. And that's all legitimate there, but you've
Right.
got to get it to that stage of control. If you don't, you're a babe in the woods. You're
And
going to
you
get
just
hosed.
used and used and used and used, huh?
Yep.
It's sad. It's sad because there's so much great talent to be had. You know, things have changed so much with the internet and the way things are put out and distributed anymore that, you know, to find that superstar anymore is just, you know, it
Yeah.
just seems like it doesn't come along so much anymore like it used to.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
Well, you know, digital killed it.
I agree.
I was in New York and going to do a string section. A guy come in with a box. This is 1980, and you know, we're looking around. He says, "You ready?" And I says, "Well, you know, I got a string session. Am I in the right studio?" He said, "Oh no, we're going to do strings."
You're
I
like,
mean,
I don't think so.
I'm used to doing strings.
Strings.
Yep.
And
Every
Yeah.
part that I have written is always 3 cellos and 3 violins. I skip the middle viola because a viola doesn't know if it's a violin or a cello.
I would agree with you on that. You're funny. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but getting back to digital, that was my first taste of it. And then next thing you know, we got drum machines. Okay, now that's a group of people being put out of business.
Yes, it is.
You know, who study hard, who rehearse. They're legitimate. But somebody to do this, I'm sorry.
I agree with you.
Get out of my studio.
I agree with you 1,000,000%.
When I started doing mostly my own stuff, I used real musicians.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
You know, you're right. There's a point to be made there. You either get lessons, you get taught, you do whatever it takes to learn. But people think it's all about the show and the this, that. No, a musician spends most of their time alone trying to perfect their craft, trying to get better.
You know, if you thought of musicians when they show up at a club and they get paid some ridiculous amount, $50, and you figure all the time rehearsing, it comes out about 20 cents an hour.
It does. It's sad and it's tragic, you know, because
and yet a club owner doesn't want to pay or didn't pay.
Right, which is so prevalent nowadays. I don't know, it just kind of takes the flavor right out. Although if you're a true musician, it doesn't matter, I suppose.
Yeah.
If you get paid or not, as long as you get to do the gig, I think. I don't know.
Well, there can be a certain amount of that. That's part of paying your dues.
Yeah.
But after that, you know,
Should get paid.
you got to get paid.
And it's not fair not to. It's just, yeah, seems like there's a stalemate on that anymore.
But let me back up again with digital. I hate digital. I hate it. Here's why.
Agreed.
Here's why. If there weren't digital, people that could sell records would get mostly paid. But when digital came
That's
out,
right.
okay, hey, you ought to hear this new band, you know, the VooDoo Hawks. Oh, really? Yeah. Hey, pass it around the, you know, TKE at the college. And next thing you know, you got 60 people all copying. Where's your sales?
Exactly.
Gone.
Gone. Completely gone.
Never to be recovered.
Yep.
Who the hell was the guy who authorized CD players and all that stuff that went with it in the digital domain? It made music suck.
It did.
It took away payrolls from people who work hard at
That's
their
right.
craft.
That's right.
All out the door. Gone.
I agree with you 100%.
For a piece of crap.
Yep. I agree with you 1,000,000%.
That's my story, and I'm
I know.
sticking to it.
And I'm like, amen, because I agree with you 100%.
And you know, I'll back up. Ricky likes analog. My elephant band, when I showed
Papa
them,
Joe.
yeah, when I showed, well, I gave them ears to tape. They went, there's no comparison.
Right.
We're doing tape.
Right.
Yeah.
There is no comparison. It takes the personality, it takes the charm, it takes the raw, even if, you know, even in any type of art. Mistakes, yes, you can clean them up, this, that, the other. But sometimes a mistake lands in.
It's got to be human.
And that's right.
Yep.
And it makes it perfect.
You know, when you take a beat and you can slide it over and you slide the other cat over and you got everybody dead center, I mean, right to the millimeter, you know, and then you got auto-tuning. What do you got? You got a zombie or something, I don't know. But, you know, bass players play a certain way. They got intonation things
Right.
that are cool. And so we're doing a little bit of fretless bass on certain stuff to give it that, you know, almost a cello sound. And people are rediscovering this. And I'm so happy. I did not think in my lifetime I was going to see vinyl kick CD's ass.
Isn't it wonderful?
It is. Hallelujah.
I know. I think it's great. I thought it was gone forever too. I really did.
All of a sudden, and demographic, who's buying record players? 15-year-olds up to 35. And I think the 35s already have it or been passed down a
Right.
working unit. Pretty cool.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
That means that much more room to go. Because in that young age demographic, it can keep going and,
Yeah.
and going and
Yeah.
going.
Re-
Instead of being a lost art, it can be a newfound.
I enjoy reteaching analog. And I get off on it, really